However, the arrival of new agents to this type of institutions, such as China and Russia, who have questioned the liberal order in the last decades, has generated a sort of internal resistance and doubts to the same international liberal order by actors who are already affiliated to many of these multilateral organizations. And even though they are affiliated to many of them, they generate resistance and state that they do not accept certain decisions of the organizations or do not adhere to certain treaties. This leads to generate a kind of hypocrisy because they are only adhered to what is convenient for them, and in the rest of the matters, they stay away from the multilateral order. So consequently, this could trigger a crisis for the international world order to the extent that it is useless that they are theoretically adhere to this type of organizations if in the end they do not fully support their decisions.
For example, Russia is in the United Nations, and yet they invited Ukraine no matter how many people will die, lose their families, and migrate. Or another example that we can talk about is about the United States, who in the Trump administration they did not agree to join the Paris Treaty because this would lead to limit many companies and even end them in order to mitigate the gas emissions. Another example in the United States is the Trump's Wall, where Latinos were discriminated against and their rights were violated, regardless of belonging to the United Nations. And finally, we have an example of China, who, despite being linked to the United Nations and the WTO, violates human rights and worker rights only for the benefit of having cheaper labor.
Now we can conclude that the term of international liberal order is an aggregation of various kinds of rules of order and institutions where there are deep rules and norms of sovereignty, because it is not a thing that the states join or resist, as defined by the internationalist John Ikenberry. For us, more than that is a group of relations constituted in global rules, based on liberal aims, which involve international cooperation throughout multilateral institutions and globalization that is constantly advancing and changing. That's all for us. Thanks for watching.
Created using Powtoon.